Hello everyone, I'm at Mongolia and I'm exploring Buddhism by visiting a Buddhist monastery here. Buddhism, as you know, has its roots somewhere in Mongolia and Southeast Asia as well. We never knew that Buddhism has its root in Mongolia. After coming here, I learned that from 16th century Buddhism has started here, and I don't know much about it, so I would like my friend here to answer some questions which I have in my mind. Would you like to tell us that how many types of Buddhism are there? Because when I visit Bhutan, I see a different kind of Buddhism. In Mongolia is different, Nepal is different, Thailand is different.
Generally, there's a four kind of main Buddhism in the world. So two of the Buddhism are developed in Mongolia since 13th century to 16th century.
Okay.
In the 13th century, there was a the red Buddhism in Mongolia, but in the beginning of the 16th century, there was a new kind of Buddhism came out in the world called yellow Buddhism. So those two kind of Buddhism started in Mongolia so strongly, and the yellow one of the inventor of the yellow Buddhism was a Mongolian originated Tibetan monk called Zong. So we can see all of the many images of them everywhere in the Mongolian monasteries. So there's a four kind of Buddhism mainly, but of course there's a many kinds rooting from that four, but all of them are as a one vision to have an enlightenment. The way of teaching the Buddhism are a little bit different, but in the end, the vision is the same.
Yeah, it's something like all roads lead to Rome.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, of course, I understand. So, out of the four Buddhism, two are actually started here. I mean, it's the first time in Mongolia.
Well, one of them was already started long before.
Which one? The red one?
Red ones.
Okay.
But the yellow one
originated here.
Yes, originated by the Mongolian originated Tibetan monk.
Okay, but he was
Mongolian person who was educated in Tibet, and he became a Tibetan person after.
Okay.
And he invented the yellow Buddhism.
I see.
So that yellow Buddhism is much stronger in Mongolia. So
right.
Most of the Mongolian pray for the yellow Buddhism. Welcome to Erdene Zuu Monastery, the 16th century monastery that built in 1558 by Aftazar Khan, who was the grandson of the Chinggis Khan. This monastery was built by the Greeks from the Karakoram city ruins, and it was the biggest Buddhist monastery in Mongolia. So let's go inside. So the monastery was built during the 16th century, and the surrounding wall has 108 stupas. That is the symbolizes of the stairway to heaven. That's what the locals believed in. So if you want to make a circle by clockwise direction, praying every single stupa, you can go to the heaven.
How many times per stupa? 1?
3 times.
3 times per stupa.
Yes, so multiple 3 times, 324 times. So it will take about 4 hours and 300 meters.
Oh.
In this monastery, you can see 3 different kinds of architecture of Mongolia: Chinese, Tibetan, as well as Mongolian. So as you can see on the main temple, this is the Chinese style, and if you can see over this small temple, you can see Tibetan style architecture.
Right. That white one is the Tibetan architecture, the white building with a flat roof.
This monastery was built by the Aftazar Khan, and he met with the third Dalai Lama, and he promised Dalai Lama to build the biggest monastery in Mongolia. So that's how he accomplished this monastery in 1558, which is 8 years later, after they met with the third Dalai Lama.
Uh-huh.
Now let's go to the Tibetan style temple. As you can see the differences between Tibetan and Chinese architecture. And this Tibetan style temple is the only active temple in this monastery. The rest of the structure became a museum in 1965, but Mongolian government decided to leave this temple as it is an active Buddhist temple.
And what is this? Stupa?
That's a stupa for praying. Every single stupa, there's a god figure inside that makes the stupa alive and a spiritual place. See on the top, on the roof, there's two gazelles. The gazelle is the one of the animals who came to the Buddha Shakyamuni. When he was enlightened and started to tell the teaching for the audience. So there was one animal was a gazelle, the other one was a peacock. So that's why you can see gazelles and peacocks in Buddhist temples everywhere. Originally, this monastery used to have more than 20 temples within this wall, but unfortunately, most of the temple has been destroyed during the 1938 by the communist regime. Because according to the communism, this was kind of a drugs, so every temple has to be destroyed. So that's how most of the temples has been destroyed, but the local people took a lot of artifacts from the temples and hid it in the mountains. So when in 1965, when the Mongolian government decided to redo this monastery, the local people brought all the artifacts that we hid in the mountains. In Mongolian Buddhism, we have 6 main letters for praying for the gods. There is Om, Ma, Ne, Bat, Me, Hum, which means all the good things for all living kinds. So it's actually Tibetan words because we have a very similarity with the Tibetan Buddhism. So remember this, Om, Ma, Ne, Bat, Me, Hum.
That's because I think both the countries follow Yellow Buddhism?
Yes.
That's one of the reasons.
And the first and last letter is representing the man's life and death. Om means when you inhale the air for the first time when you was born, you said Om. And when you die, you exhale your last breath. Om.
That's interesting.
Hey, welcome to Gandan Monastery. So we are in the Gandan Monastery's west gate. This monastery has 3 main gates, west, east and south. So as we can see from here, in the west side of this monastery, there's a Buddhist schools. And if you go on the north side, there will be the main God's statue located, as you can see on the tall building. And as you can see, this temple has a Chinese as well as a Tibetan architecture. In the south side of this monastery, there will be a chanting for the public services. And next to it, there will be the first monastery temples that includes Dalai Lama's library and the main monks' hosts.
Dalai Lama used to come here at point of time?
Yes, during the special occasions, Dalai Lama visit here to make some teaching for the publics. So as you can see on the north side, there's a statue of the Buddhist who invented the Yellow Buddhism. So these 2 temples are the Dalai Lama's personal library, and only Dalai Lama or high-ranking monks can enter into this library. And as you can see over there, there's a higher-ranking monk's private house who is there. And on the north side, there's 2 different temples for the public services. So every morning around 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. there will be public chanting from the monks. These are the praying table.
So basically this place can be said as the origin of Buddhism here.
This is the center of the Mongolian Buddhism.
Okay.
So the monks from all over Mongolia come here to study Buddhism, and some of them will be sent to the Dharamsala or Tibet for more academic knowledge about the Buddhism. So over here, there's about 200 monks resided, and they do teaching and praying and all the chantings and Buddhist. Now let's go to the main temple of this monastery. Okay, so this is the main temple of this Gandan monastery, dedicated for the Chandrasek god. This god is about 26 meter high from the ground level and made by the 20 tons of copper, 25 kilograms of silver. It's about 8 kilograms of gold, and inside there's about 2,100 different kinds of gemstones that's collected all across Mongolia. And this one is rebuilt in 1966 by government as well as the private funds. The original god statue was built in 1911, but it has been taken down by the Soviet troops in 1937 and shipped to Moscow to make a bullet by the coppers.
Wow.
And this whole monastery was built in 1809 and closed in 1938 and reopened at 1944 by the government control. During that time, there was only about 50 or 60 monks resided within this monastery and served for public service. But there was a very, very high control for the locals, that in order to declare our independence, we need to have our religion. So that's why our government decided to reopen this monastery, just to show to the world that we have a religion as an independent country. Because we were a part of the Soviet Union, and according to the communism, the religion was a drug. So it was kind of an anti-religious persecution era during that time. So this monastery became a real monastery and leave the control from the government in 1992. So after 1992, it became a more independent religious institutions that there was no control from the government. So that from that time, local people can come here to pray for the gods without any problems.
So is this god only in Mongolia, or it is also?
It is also very popular in the Buddhist countries.
In Buddhist countries?
Buddhist countries.
Like Bhutan, Tibet and other places.
This god is looking after the health and also joys of the publics. Okay. Dalai Lama, we as we are Mongolians, we believe that Dalai Lama is a Buddhist leader of all Buddhism. So that's why the Dalai Lama visit to Mongolia very often to do some teachings and praying and do some public services in this monastery. So that's why we worship the Dalai Lama's picture everywhere in Mongolian Buddhist monasteries.
Yeah. So we can say that this monastery is like a root of Buddhism in this part of the world.
Yes, this monastery is a central monastery of the Mongolian Buddhism. It's actually quite new monastery that built in 19th century, like 1809.
Right.
Yeah.
Much after the Yellow Buddhism was formed.
Yes, the Yellow Buddhism was formed in 16th centuries. One of the first column since 1809. So the local people can come here to pray for this very pillar, and they can touch the wood. As you can see, some part of the wood is already worn. So this monastery is facing to the south, to the mountain called Bogotani Mountain, which is the world's first protected national park in 1779.
Sharuul, I would like to ask you about what is the difference between Yellow Buddhism in Mongolia and the rest of the world, a different kind of Buddhism. And also if you can throw some light on shamanism, which is practiced, I know, in Mongolia.
Actually, the first Buddhist appearance in Mongolia was in the 13th century during the Genghis Khan's time in Karakoram city. But later in the 16th century, there was a new Buddhist practice called Yellow Buddhism developed in Mongolia. That Yellow Buddhism is very unique from the rest of the world's Buddhism because of that one is mixed with shamanism. So shamanism is a very, very ancient religion that practiced by Mongol nations. And in 16th century, these two religions has mixed, and that's how our Buddhism formed as it is now.
Who was the founder of the Yellow Buddhism?
The founder of the Yellow Buddhism is Bogd Jongho, who was a Mongolian person that lived in Tibet.
So currently Yellow Buddhism is practiced in Tibet, Bhutan, Mongolia.
Yeah.
Only these three countries, I guess.
I'm not really sure about the rest of the countries, but those three countries
For sure.
Yellow Buddhism. The differences between Yellow and Red Buddhism is Red Buddhism is mostly based on the meditation, but the Yellow one is based on the lamas for chanting for the public services.
Okay, so as a public, if I have to take blessings from the Lama, and the Lama would in turn pray for them.
Yes, that's how the Yellow Buddhism is in Mongolia. Lama, we call it Lama in Mongolian language, but it is actually a monk who started for Buddhism in Mongolia or either in Tibet for academic levels. Okay, let's go to the newest and the biggest temple for the public service. Let's have a quick look at it.
Sure. Okay. When was this built?
This one was built only 5 years ago.
Okay. So all Buddhist monks and leaders, they come here.
Yes.
For teaching.
All over the world.
All over the world.
Buddha Shakyamuni was a prince of ancient India. So we have a myth that when he was born and he just stepped on the ground, lotus flower was growing every step he has taken. So that's symbolizing that lotus flower, the Shakyamuni's.
So it's the same Buddha. It is called Shakyamuni in Yellow Buddhism.
This statue is representing the Buddha Shakyamuni's birth, and it's the symbol. It's worshipping about Mongolian kids. They are very curious whether I have something in my hands.
These pigeons here, they are so nice and they're so habituated with people around. So they don't fly off, even if I walk in through them.
Never afraid from the human because in this area nobody touches them. And if you have some piece of rice, hold it on your hand. You're gonna come, give yourself. Temple complex was built during the 18th century, as our museum commentator says, and there's about 26 smaller temples built around this area for 1,000 monks at the same time. But unfortunately, this very temple complex have been destroyed by communists during the 1938, the beginning of the World War II. Because we become a part of the Soviet Union during that time. And according to the communism, we are not allowed to be a religious. So many of the temples and monasteries across Mongolia have been destroyed. And many good things have been disappeared. And this is one of the rebuilt temple around this complex. So you can have a look inside. And when you want to go inside the temple, you need to take off your hat, take off your shoes, and never point to anything by the finger. If you want to point something, you have to use all fingers. Because according to the Yin-Yang, it's very bad energies. During the 1938, the beginning of the World War II, it was the darkest hour in our history. Because there was a lot of people that were killed by political reason, and a lot of noble people sent out of the country or were executed outside. Mongolian language we call it Ochur. It's for the monks use it for during the chanting. And almost all of the Mongolian family lost at least one of their family members to the regimes. During that time, it was, we were transition period of the from nomadic culture to communism. So, according to the communist teaching, the twisted one, people shouldn't be religious because religion was kind of a drug. So the religion was forbidden in every other communist country, including Mongolia. So that's why the communist soldiers destroyed many religious places. Executed a lot of monks, noble people as well, including the Genghis Khan descendants. Because during the communist time, Genghis Khan was a very, very bad person. My parents' generation and grandparents' generation didn't allow to talk about him. Because if you talk about the Genghis Khan was a good man, they will be in big trouble. They will be called by police and will be questioned. So,
I think we'll learn about Genghis Khan in a separate session altogether because he's one of the leaders we have always have respect for, and I'm sure there are a lot of myths around it. So we would like to reveal those myths in a separate session. Keep following us.
Please do follow us.
If you enjoy my videos, don't forget to provide your comments below. And along with that, don't forget to subscribe my videos and press the bell icon for getting the latest notifications.